oh God, that you'll be with us through this learning period. We ask, Lord, that you would cause us to hear what we need to hear and to do what we need to do. All these we've asked in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Senator Dr. Zajako, okay. Our host will give us the opening remarks.
Thank you very much. On behalf of both Cosropin and GRAF and Graceful Ageing Fellowship, for those who don't know what Cosropin stands for, it is the Coalition of Societies for the Rights of Older Persons in Nigeria, and GRAF is Graceful Ageing Fellowship. On behalf of both organizations who are collaborating tonight, I want to thank everyone who has joined this collaborative webinar, and to appreciate particularly our four main speakers today. Thank you also to the moderator and our programs coordinator and her team. GRAF, as some of you know, is a healthy aging NGO. And for 11 years, GRAF has helped men and women to live healthy, teaching on the need to age gracefully, live long and healthy through divine knowledge. GRAF focuses on physical health, what you eat and do with your body, including exercise, as you can see on our screen, if it is possible. Then GRAF also focuses on mental health, your thought and imagination power over you, and lastly, spiritual health, faith, and your belief. These three areas have effect on your wellness. Through teaching on lifestyle changes on eating right, exercising, and so on, GRAF has helped many aging older persons to live more healthy, especially in this COVID-19 period. GRAF lessons are helping with our immune boosting and preventive actions. In 11 years, with GRAF teaching, GRAF has not lost any member of its association through that. Cosropin was battered during the 6th anniversary celebration gathering of GRAF by many CSOs and NGOs. So GRAF is a very strong member of Cosropin. You can see some of the activities of GRAF on your screen, exercises. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Just now,
Okay.
we're not hearing initially.
I was told that I was lost at a stage. I said Cosropin, as you know, is the major stakeholder group on aging in Nigeria. The umbrella organization. It is made up of associations, CSOs, NGOs, community-based organization, faith-based organization, retirement groups, professional groups, and academicians working with or on aging in Nigeria. Categories of membership include everyone in care and such institutions, anyone in advocacy and awareness creation, capacity building, education and training on aging, research and data collection groups, social workers, retirement organizations, aging healthy wellness groups, geriatric care services, vendors of aging materials, media, culture and orientation, and consultants in aging, all focused on the welfare, well-being, dignity, and health of older persons. The major achievement of Cosropin is the bill on the older persons' rights prepared by Cosropin, which has gone through the second reading and public hearing at the Senate. Cosropin's various outreaches and partnership with government and its agencies, Cosropin's support to older persons through its campaigns and advocacy on a national basis, and our second national or two national conferences on aging and many other activities justify the reason for the coalition. The coming together of all to form Cosropin has given aging a greater voice in Nigeria and put aging in the front burner of all government programs. I use this opportunity to salute all the members of Cosropin. Today's webinar, the collaboration between GRAF and Cosropin, time for immunity enhancement. Let me say that has not been talked about a lot. Neither has the benefits of vitamins, water, oxygen, sunshine to older persons. These will be discussed tonight, and I believe that many of us will gain from them. These topics are important in building the body's immunity to withstand COVID-19 attack. In addition to following existing protocols for all other persons, i.e. stay at home for older persons, social distancing, wearing of masks, and hand washing, older persons need to understand the importance of what goes into their bodies as food and drinks and what they do with their body. May I use this opportunity to appeal to younger persons to note what the speakers will be saying and to assist their parents and older persons in providing the needed tools for the prevention of COVID-19. The youths and younger people are needed to support older persons greatly at this time because older persons are more vulnerable. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining and for participating in this webinar. Thank you. Over to you.
Okay, yes. We'll now go straight to the lectures. And the first person we have is Dr. Ndubisi Onuoha. He will introduce himself. He'll do self-introduction, and then he will speak for about 13 minutes. Dr. Ndubisi, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Yes, I am Dr. Ndubisi Onuoha. I'm a chief consultant physician and pulmonologist at Gwarinpa General Hospital. I'm also interested in lifestyle medicine. And so that's what I do. This evening, I'm going to talk on the place of liquid foods in boosting our immunity. You wonder, what do you mean by liquid food? The way we have been preparing food and eating them, and the timing of our doing so has been largely wrong, because food is supposed to enhance health. Apart from making us to grow bigger, it's also supposed to delay aging processes. And so what we're having now is that people are just having degenerative issues. Most of the diseases that we treat today, whether it's cancer or whatever we can think of as disease, mostly they are degenerative diseases, which means the body cannot replace aged cells or dead cells. And so over time, the body replaces the space with fibrous tissues. And if, for example, there are 100 cells that are doing a particular function, and now they are now reduced to about 40 cells because most of them have died and are not replaced as they should, of course, then that function will suffer. And so that's what we mean by degenerative diseases. Now, degenerative diseases, why is it that we're not having adequate amount of regeneration in our system? Basically because of poverty in nutrients. And nutrients are mainly from food. And so how do we prepare our food today? We get to the market and then we slice our food, we cook them, and most of these nutrients they're not heat tolerant. The moment you cook your food, much of the nutrients are destroyed. However, it will enhance the taste, and that is actually what is driving that behavior. So for taste, we sacrifice everything else. So now, and over time, medicine, orthodox medicine, had followed the wrong direction in terms of trying to make people heal. We study pathology, which is the study of disease, how it starts, how it evolves, and how it may end. And then, good enough, we have pharmacology to block various points of these pathological processes. So, and symptoms are derived from pathological processes. So these symptoms are the things that we don't like. That are the things that make us go to hospital and seek help: weakness, fever, and what have you. And so if we have drugs that would remove those symptoms, we'll be very happy. And then we can face whatever we're doing. And that is actually when the healing begins. The body eventually is what heals us, not the pharmaceutical drugs that we've been drinking. But what the drug does for us is to quiet our body and take our focus away from pathology. And at that time, healing then begins. Now, but we have reached the zenith of the performance of pharmaceutical means for acquisition of health. We have reached the zenith in that so many diseases are now, they're there. We use all manners of drugs and they're not getting better. And many of them are dying. In fact, as a younger doctor, I concluded wrongly then that human beings are the weakest animals that God made. And why will he make us the weakest when he made us to be the most evolved? And I didn't understand it. But then eventually I saw that it is that ability to make choices that have left us where we are today, because the choices we're making are different from where God wanted us to be. So, and primarily in the area of food, I now started experimenting with food. I started giving patients vegetables because the nutrients are highest concentrated in vegetables, in herbs, then fruits. It's like the sugar in fruits was removed and more nutrients are packed. And that is what you call vegetables or herbs. So, and then I started telling my patients to eat raw, do juice, and we started getting healings, reversals of disease. And so I've continued in that direction. And to this evening, I'm going to talk on the place of liquid food. Now, liquid food is not your cooked food that you liquefy. Liquid food are basically raw foods. Now, And they are divided into two. Your juice, you can have vegetable juice, and then you can also juice your fruits. But let me quickly say that fruit is not to be juiced. Fruit is to be eaten with its fiber because of the sugar that is there. Sugar is good, but sugar is a pro-inflammatory agent. So some of the adverse effect of sugar is taken care of by the fiber that comes with it. So if you juice fruits, you're going to remove the fiber and you're just taking only the sugar. So fruit is not to be juiced, okay? It's only vegetables that you juice. However, when you want to juice vegetable, the most important aspect is the leaves, the green leaves. But you can't juice green leaves alone. So you have to use crunchy vegetables like carrots and cucumbers and beetroots to base it, and then put the leaves, and on top of it, you put another crunchy vegetable, and then you let it go. It's noteworthy to remember that you don't add water to juice. You juice it just the way it is, and then all the liquid that you obtain are from the plants. Some people will make a smoothie, which means they just blend vegetables or fruits, they blend it together, and then they sieve it, and they want to believe that that is juice. That is not juice. That is highly diluted because, you know, before you blend, you have to add water. So yes, and juice is the highest packed nutrient in the world, natural nutrient in the world. So how do you take juice? Juice is basically for healing and for regeneration. And also for those who also want to do weight loss. What you juice will determine what exactly you get. Juice is to be taken on empty stomach. So it means in the morning before you take your breakfast, what you need to be taking is juice. And because of the high amount of nutrients in juice, a glass of juice is enough for an hour. If you take second glass or third glass of juice, then the body can only absorb for use only what is in a glass. The second and the other glasses will be ignored, and so it will be wasted. So you just take per hour 1 glass of juice. So like, for example, you start from 7 o'clock, 1 glass, 8 a.m., another glass, you can go on like that. And if you don't have any disease to reverse, you just take like between 2 and 4 glasses a day. But if you have diseases to reverse, maybe diabetes, hypertension, cancer, asthma, and the rest, you need between 4 to 12 glasses, and it depends on the disease. Cancer being the one that requires the highest amount of juice per day. So for cancer, we're talking about 10 to 12 glasses of juice per day. So it means you are going essentially raw. Let me say here, I had a condition which I diagnosed clinically to be COVID. However, I didn't do the test because I didn't want to raise alarm. Well, I knew what to do, but I noticed that, and I slept well, and when I woke up, I usually woke up with energy. But then, the moment I took my breakfast, it will start all over again. Fever, cough, everything will just start all over again. And that happened for like 2 or 3 days. And then I stopped taking cooked food, and I would take just fruits and vegetables. And that was when the healing actually started, and consistently so until I became fine. Now, what does that say? You know, COVID is mainly an inflammatory condition. It is the inflammation that's the excessive inflammation that actually kills people. And so you will now say, oh, okay, so why do you want to boost immunity? If a good immunity regulates, once immunity, the fight, if the fight is too much, it downregulates it. If the fight is not adequate, it brings it up. So that's a good immunity. But an immunity that loses it and fights and continues is actually a poor immunity. And that is what happens in COVID. So inflammation is basically an inflammatory condition. And then you now eat cooked food. Cooked food also promotes inflammation because these are things that the body from the past does not really understand. And whatever the body does not understand, the body fights it. And that fight is what we call inflammation. And so if you're not ill, you will not, if you're not ill, you will not appreciate that. But most of us will recognize that after eating cooked food, we tend to be rather weak for a while before we begin to gain energy. And if you experiment that with fruits and vegetables that you have not cooked, you will not have that issue. So yes, so that is it about vegetable juice. Let me quickly talk about smoothies. So vegetable, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Okay,
yes,
I'm hearing.
All right. Okay. All right then. So for the juices don't have fibers, but the smoothies, you put the plant in it and then you blend everything whole. So it has both the nutrients and the fiber. The fibers also have their roles. They tend to reduce the amount of sugar that gets into your blood. They regulate it. They also sweep your intestine. They absorb toxic materials and so on. So, but when you grind fiber too smooth, if you make it too smooth, it loses most of its function. There was a study that was done whereby Quaker oat was the original Quaker oat that we know was given to a group of people and their blood taken. After a while, the blood sugar was down, was okay. And then the same Quaker oat was grounded into powder and made into swallow. And they were fed again and they measured their blood. Their blood sugar was very high. So what does it say? It means that the fiber, which have been grounded to pieces, has lost the function of regulating sugar release into the blood. So the same thing will happen to your smoothie if you grind it too smooth. Another thing with smoothie is that you can mix fruits and vegetables, but a lot of people just smoothie fruits alone, which is not good enough. You have to add vegetables. The vegetables are the main thing that give you the nutrients. For the calorie, you add fruits. If you are diabetic, you don't do more than 1 fruit per meal of the smoothie. If you are not diabetic, don't do more than 2 fruits. Okay, so
Yes, please, can you round up?
All right, for immunity, let me just say, the fruits, the things that we can put together to enhance our immunity: garlic, pawpaw, spinach, broccoli, citrus fruits, ginger, apple, this big pepper, and then turmeric. So you can choose what you're going to smoothie from here. So, well, I think I can stop now. If there's any question later on, I'll take them. But let me round up by saying that the advantage of smoothie is that it's for children who cannot chew vegetables very well, for the elderly who may have lost their teeth and the energy to chew properly, and then the sick. Okay, but other people too can also, it's not restricted to them. Okay, other people can also engage in smoothie. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very, very much, Dr. Onoha, for that brilliant presentation. Now we will call on Professor Henrietta Enebong to tell us about the role of healthy eating. Professor Enebong, you will self-introduce. Thank you. Professor?
My screen. I would like to share my screen, but it's like there's no sharing. You say the host has disabled participants from sharing. I need to speak from my slides. I didn't know the nature of the
Please,
this
you can share, madam.
presentation.
You can share. Just click on the share screen. You can share your presentation.
Uh-huh.
Prof, you can share.
I'm trying to share. Okay, are you seeing it?
Yes.
Today, they started 6. All right. So, good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Good evening.
Okay. I sincerely want to thank all of the organizers of this webinar for inviting me to this webinar this evening, because I didn't have the full details. I didn't know it was going to be only 30 minutes. I prepared my slides, but I'll just rush through them because I guess that the people I'm talking to are mainly those who already know nutrition. So I wouldn't waste time on some of the aspects. So the topic is on the role of healthy eating. And eating is just the act of ingesting or consuming food. And food is anything that we eat. And they provide us with the needed nutrients, whether they are solid like or liquid like we have heard, or semi-solid. The most important thing is that they nourish the body and provide us with the substances which we call nutrients. And these nutrients helps to sustain life. When we talk of health, it has to do with strength, fitness, well-being, or healthiness or vigor. And we have all the definitions for health, but I really like the last one, this one of WHO 2001, which says that it's a cumulative state to be promoted throughout life in order to ensure that the full benefits are enjoyed in later life. So when we talk of good health, it starts from the cradle. It's not something that starts just at the end or towards when we are aging. Whatever happens at the beginning of our lives, continues till when we start aging. And there are so many dimensions of health. We have emotional, physical, mental, and spiritual health. And so many things determine our health. But the one that concerns me is the behavioral choices that we make, the food, the diet, the food we eat, the physical exercises, the substance abuse, and these are all our health-seeking behaviors. And then there's a relationship between food and health. And in Ezekiel 47 verse 12, we are told that the fruits thereof shall be for meat and the leaves thereof for medicine. The lecture we just heard now, supports this. And also Hippocrates said that let our food be our medicine, and the medicine and thy medicine be thy food. So food, we are what we eat. It is what we put in our body that determines what we are. So if we eat the good ones, we are healthy. When we eat the ones that are not good or not healthy foods, we also become unhealthy. And what do we then mean by healthy eating? So healthy eating can be defined as the intake of sufficient amounts of the right kind of food to meet one's daily physiological needs in order to maintain optimal health and prevent diseases. It also involves consuming other dietary components that, because food does not contain only nutrients, there are other things that food contains. which we find, which we don't always talk about, you know. So the importance of eating healthy is that, you know, it helps us to maintain healthy weight. It affects our mood positively. It strengthens our immunity, reduces non-communicable diseases, support our mental, physical development and our performance. It also delays the effect of aging, and it also reduces health costs. Then the consequences of not eating well, right, or not eating properly is, you know, malnutrition. We also know about undernutrition. We know about overnutrition. Whether we don't eat enough or we eat more than we need to, they are all overnutrition. And all of them can also lead to non-communicable diseases depending on when it occurs. So this is just to show that if we take like fruits and vegetables, we've been told, you know, with water, you know, will make us more healthy than when we take this fat pack of hamburger and chips and Coke, and it gives us the shape and the bad health that we don't want. Malnutrition, you know, the consequences of, you know, unhealthy eating, you know, affects all the life cycles, whether from the fetus to the elderly, and their manifestations differ, you know, so nobody is exempted, but we know that the toll is more on the vulnerable groups, and which are the ones that are actually here, you know. So consuming healthy diet throughout the life course helps to prevent malnutrition in all its forms, as well as a range of non-communicable diseases. And in order to practice healthy eating, one needs some basic principles of nutrition. So like I said, I'm not going to waste a lot of time on them. I'll just go through the slides fast. You know, we know the basic nutrients in our food. There are 6 of them. And then we know their functions, you know, energy, bodybuilding, and protective. And like I say here, food does not only satisfy hunger, it also serves other purposes like social functions and psychological functions. And then for the food we eat, there are certain substances that are in our food that we need to know about. When we talk of carbohydrates, we must also know that there are good carbohydrates, and there are the ones that are not as healthy. Like we have heard, things like sugars are not as healthy as when we eat carbohydrates from the complex carbohydrates, that like the dietary fiber. You know, dietary fiber, these are non-digestible type of carbohydrates in the food. And we have the 2 types, the soluble and the insoluble dietary fiber. The soluble dietary fiber is the one that has a lot of physiological properties, because that's the one that helps to reduce blood glucose, cholesterol, and the rest. While the insoluble dietary fiber are the ones that help us to, have a fast transit time and help the digestive systems. And we can get this dietary fiber from our cereals, from our legumes, and fruits and vegetables that we have heard a lot. These are just varieties of legumes. You know, they are very, very rich in dietary fiber. We also have some of our local soup thickeners that we use in our villages, achi, or for apparat and the rest. They are very high in soluble dietary fiber. Then when we talk of our proteins, again, when we talk of protein, we don't eat protein, but what we derive from it are essential amino acids. But these essential amino acids, we also have them as either essential or non-essential. The essential ones are the ones that the body cannot provide, so we must provide them in our diet. We can also have them as complete and incomplete. When we talk of complete proteins, we are talking about those that are coming from animal sources, and the incomplete ones, the ones that are coming from plant sources. So when we classify our amino acids as, essential and non-essential. And if we look at the non-essential amino acids, like I said, they must be in our diet. Then even the plant proteins, because of our socioeconomic status, not everybody can afford animal protein every time, but we can also get our proteins from plants, like the cereals and the legumes. And then when we combine them effectively, they will give us a good pattern of essential amino acids. Then when we talk of fats, you know, and when we talk of fat, everybody is quarreling about fat, but they are still essential fats that the body needs. And so when we classify our fats, we talk of saturated and unsaturated fatty acids. But the more healthy ones are the unsaturated fatty acids, which we also have the monounsaturated, and the polyunsaturated fatty acids. You know, these are the ones that are healthier to consume. You know, with the essential fatty acids, the omega-3 fatty acids, omega-6, and the EPA and the DHA, these are all essential fatty acids that the body needs. So fats are not completely bad. So again, we come to the minerals and vitamins. Minerals and vitamins, they help to regulate body functions, but at the same time, they also act as antioxidants, you know, that protect the body from oxygen species, reactive oxygen species that damage the body, you know, and so they are very important also in our lives. So like they are very important, especially when we are talking about immunity. You can see vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin D, the B vitamins, folic acid, iron, and then the minerals, iron, zinc, copper, selenium. You know, they are all very important when we talk of immune system. Then there are other food substances we find in our food. They are not called nutrients, but we call them phytochemicals. And these phytochemicals, they don't provide nutrients, but they have been found to, you know, reduce the risk of certain diseases like cancers and heart diseases. And we find them a lot in our fruits and vegetables, like we have been told already, things like garlic, onion, pepper, chili pepper, cucumber, carrots, cauliflower, broccoli. What we have in them are essential, a lot of these phytochemicals, which helps to, you know, prevent diseases. And then we also have pre and probiotics, you know, single cell microorganisms, living organisms like we find in the yogurt that we take and in fermented foods. So fermented foods and yogurts, they also give us these probiotics. Then while the prebiotics are non-digestible food ingredients, like example I mentioned, dietary fiber can be a probiotic because it's not digested. Oligosaccharides, they are not digested, but they are good for the gut's health, because when they get to the large intestine, they will be broken down into short-term fatty acids and so on. And then they help to maintain gut's health. And then we also have anti-nutritional factors. These ones, some are harmful, some are not very harmful, but some, you know, if they are in large quantities in the food we eat, then they can inhibit the absorption of the nutrients that we need. So we also need to take care of them either through processing of our foods, like hydrogen cyanide, tannins, phytates. If there are so much in the food, then they will affect the food that we eat. So how do we need to ensure a healthy diet? There's no single food or food group that can fulfill all our needs, you know. So we need to take food from a number of food groups, and our foods are divided into several food groups. But like I said, since I'm in a hurry, let me just look at this food group. This is a food group that I you know, when we make food groups, we put foods according to their nutritional value and their similarities. So if we come here, you see at the base of this pyramid, you have your roots and tubers, your cereals, then following it, you have your fruits and vegetables. At the top, you have your meat, all the animal source foods. And at the top, at the very peak, you have like oil and the spices and so on. The pyramid shows you that as you go up the pyramid, the quantity of these foods will be reduced. And you see where fat is, salt and the rest. These ones are used in small quantities, while the ones at the base, water, then the cereals and your legumes are, and then you have their recommended servings. You can also see from the grain group, you have 6 to 11 serving portions. As you go up the ladder, it reduces, but still, they are all meant to give health. So when we want to talk of eating well, there are criteria we have to have in mind, something like variety. We have what we call overall variety and variety within a group. I've shown you food groupings, we don't have time, but variety means that if you come to variety, overall variety means that you must choose food from all the food groups. But when it is within a group, it means that if you are in the meat group, it doesn't mean you should be eating beef every day. You have to take variety within the group. Today, egg, next tomorrow, fish, the other day, something else, and then you have variety. It helps. Then you also adequacy. There are certain nutrients you must guarantee that they are adequate in your diet. Protein, carbohydrate, energy, carbohydrates and fats. You need to have them in adequate proportions in your food. And also, there are the foods that you must, like your iron, your calcium, then you need to be sure that they are adequate. So adequacy is one of the criteria. Moderation is one. And when we talk of moderation in terms of fats, sugar, salt, and cholesterol consumption, we need to be, it has to be adequate. Then overall balance, balancing your fats, the monounsaturated, the polyunsaturated, and so on, and the saturated. They need to be a balance when we are choosing what we want to eat, and we want to eat in a healthy way. This is a range of population intake, for different types of nutrients that one is supposed to take in a day. So maybe later you can go through them, but they are all in conformity with, either balance and moderation. Then because we are looking at nutrition, healthy eating for, the life cycle, if we talk of young people, we know that exclusive breastfeeding is what is supposed to be, and then adequate complementary food that is energy dense, culturally acceptable, and hygienically prepared for the child, and in the consistency and also affordable to the household. And then we have also criteria for picking food for children. Like here, we have 7 food groups for infant and young children. And it's expected that for these children, you must pick, when you are preparing their food, you must pick food from at least 4 food groups in this, among the 7 groups. The same thing for women of reproductive age. You must pick at least 5 food groups for women of reproductive age from among these food groups. And then general recommendation for everybody, eating, healthy eating is the same for everybody. The only thing is that the quantity may differ, or the form in which it's eating is differ, depending on the age, the sex, the physiological state, and the activity level of the person. And then for general eating, we all have to eat a variety of food. We reduce red meats and processed foods, we limit salt intake and fat intake, take a lot of dietary fiber, and so on, balance our calorie and energy, with energy expenditure to maintain desirable weight. We need to choose foods that like whole wheat bread and not, instead of white bread. Eat dry beans and other traditional legumes regularly. Choose and prepare our food with little added sugar and salt. Choose fat wisely. Drink lot of raw food, plenty of water, and the elderly, they need a high quality protein, all the minerals and vitamins. Their food intake does not differ like the general public. Is the general group is still the same thing. And then, in conclusion, I want to say that for you to eat healthy or to choose healthy foods or to enjoy the benefit of healthy eating, you need to have a good knowledge of nutrition, and so that you make informed choice, and then adhere to regular eating rules and regulations. It's difficult, but by God's grace, we will be able to make the right choices. And then I say it's only a healthy person that can be available for God's work and for humanity. And because our bodies are the temple of the Holy Spirit, we need to take care of it so that we can be effective. And then, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Henrietta, for that brilliant talk. I wish we had more time, then you could have spoken longer. But you have a packed program. So thank you very much. People can raise their questions during question and answer time. They'll be taken care of. Our next presenter will be Professor Prince-Will Alozie, who will speak on the place of water, vitamins, oxygen, and sunshine. Professor Alozie, please introduce yourself. And go ahead. Please, can you unmute him if he's muted? Professor Alozie, please. Hello. Hello, Professor Alozie.
Okay. Okay. Am I heard now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yes. The place of water, oxygen, vitamins, and sunshine. My own is an easy one. The two speakers, Dr. Noah and Professor Enobong, they have also mentioned my topic tangentially, because the food we eat has water in it. Our body needs water. We need at least 1.5 liters of water every day, at least, because that will help the blood to function properly. You will recall that our body is made up of 70% of water molecules. And if you don't drink water to replenish, the first thing you're going to notice is that excreta will be hardened, the urine will be thick, there could be body odor and mouth odor. But water will dilute all these things. And that is it. So when you wake up in the morning, it is advisable to take about 65 centiliters of water. I take 75 cl of water, but some specialists talk about 1 glass of water, 2 glasses of water, 2 glasses of water. But for me, what works is that quantity I've mentioned. And when I take it, it enhances bowel movement, and I'm ready for the day, right? The remaining quantity of water you will take in little bits throughout the day, so that you will be moving. And now I remember that when we're talking of water, some people now boast that they don't drink water. They take only what they call soft drink, which is actually water saturated with sugar. They call it soft drink, and there is nothing soft about it, right? I remember too also that when I was in Moscow, I was surprised looking back now, when this topic was given to me, that there was no water served me at any given time. Yet I was taking liquid. So what they do when they want to serve you food, they will boil any particular kind of fruits in that water. So as you are drinking that liquid, you're also taking some nutrients. And people are healthy there. The only thing too is that they take a lot of tea and coffee. And occasionally too, some of them take some alcohol, which is not good. And so when we're talking about liquid now, something like Coke, Coca-Cola, and all sorts of synthetic drinks should be avoided. In Nigeria, as you know, pure clean water is a rarity. Only very few people can afford to get this. The reason, of course, you know, we're talking to ourselves here. The water we drink, unless you have your own borehole, you may not be assured of water. That is the truth. But I know this can be remedied. Luckily, too, we have a senator here, or senators, and some lawmakers in our midst. So we're advising ourselves to make water, potable water, available. It is a necessity. It is as necessary as the air we breathe. The problem now, even if you have a tap, you are not sure that tap will give you clean water. Why? Because you see, we have places we dump refuges. They dump. Water in it can go below your knowledge, below to the water level where if you get your own borehole, you are getting impurities. It may not be dark, but if you analyze it in a laboratory, you see that you are taking a lot of dangerous things. Sometimes even in some areas, oil, this petroleum we have, it will be coming, seeping it through the tap. So that is a problem. We need to face that squarely. But having said that, during this COVID period, there is what we call water therapy, or if you like, you can call it hydrotherapy. In the olden days when we were young, if people are sick, you have a fever, they will boil some herbs, some leaves, and you are covered with something like a blanket or cloth, and you inhale it. It is good for this period. We are talking about cancer, COVID-19 or COVID, whatever, whether it is going to be COVID-20, it will help to kill it. And I'm happy too that this is some kind of faith-based organization. We believe in God. We should not have any fear, no matter the variants of this virus. We will overcome it. We will overcome it. Virus has been with humankind. This is not new, although this particular one may be manufactured or simulated in a laboratory. I don't want to get into that kind of argument now, but it's a possibility. We think about it. But even if it is so, it is a virus. After all, HIV is also a virus, and it has been conquered. And earlier speakers have spoken about building up the immune system. When you do that, you are in order. So that is about that one. Water therapy, if you're interested, you can Google it and you find so many things about water therapy or hydrotherapy. Then quickly too, because the time has gone, as I've noticed, the place of oxygen. Air is very important. You may live without water for some hours and so forth, but you can't stay without breathing air for 1 hour. You remember the incidents, I can't breathe, and the person died. It didn't take 1 hour, he died. So we need air. But again, air is a problem here. air is polluted, not only in Nigeria now, many parts of the world. There is air, but polluted air. But we define air as a mixture of of gases, oxygen being one of it. So oxygen should be free, but now it is a commodity. You buy oxygen for this COVID, for instance, and some other ailments. Everything is marketed. Everything has been reduced to naira and kobo or to dollar, right? But the heart pumps blood, and the blood would go around distributing with hemoglobin, distributing red corpuscles, supplying food to the trillions of cells in our body. Without that, the body will not function well. And the problem again is because of the socioeconomic situation we find ourselves, you see that people will lock themselves up in a room or in their houses. Windows are blocked, doors are locked, and perhaps they will have fun. And this fan will be circulating the small oxygen that is there, and they will be breathing the air and depleting the oxygen and throwing out carbon dioxide. So you are not taking really the oxygen that you need. But I'm not blaming them, but it's for us to take note that when there is such a situation, at the slightest opportunity, you open the doors and windows and let fresh air come in. I realize that some people can use air conditioner, but it's not a substitute for natural air. It's not a substitute. So that is it. Oxygen that we're talking about is good for health. But this oxygen too, Professor Nyobong was talking about antioxidants. This is the goal of free radicals. This same oxygen that is good also is the purveyor of free radicals. And so we need antioxidants. That is something that will be fighting that kind of oxygen that causes problems. Like if you slice your onions, you leave it a little while, the onions, white onions will turn brown. It is oxygen now doing its business on that onions. That is also what happens to us, and sometimes, or quite often, that causes some kind of illness for us. So that is about that. So supplements. Somebody has spoken about oxygen, exercises. Yes, when you exercise, it will enable you to breathe in sufficient oxygen. In addition, you can do breathing exercises. Breathe in, deep breathing, and out. That will help the lungs. It will be very useful, and it will help your health, especially the elderly ones who may not be in a position to be running around. If you are in your apartment, you have some space. Sometimes you walk a bit while doing these breathing exercises. It will be very useful. I quickly go also to the place of vitamins. Vitamins. Now there is a fad, people rush for vitamins as if vitamins are alpha and omega for well-being. Indeed, vitamins are good, but it is not a thing you can trade off with for good diet, good food, nutritious meal that the two speakers before me had spoken about. Fruit and good diet, balanced diet. You must have them, take them, and then vitamins will come and play their own part. Because there are so many vitamins, I will not start naming them one by one, because each of them, they have their own history and their role. Quite often too, with vitamins, one after the other, but it is better, the experts say, to combine some of them. There are those you can combine, there are those you cannot combine, right? So let me even make do with two groups of vitamins. The vitamins will be good for the brain, and the vitamins that will be good for the heart. The B complex vitamins, they are very good for the brain, like vitamin B1, which they call thiamine. It can convert glucose, that's a form of sugar, to energy. That is good. That is vitamin B2, riboflavin. That one is especially good for those who have cognitive impairments or whose hands are trembling, especially the elderly. They have lost vigor, the hair is withering away, they're having weight loss, and sometimes personality disturbance. Riboflavin will be very good for such people. Remember, I'm talking about vitamins. Otherwise, I would have mentioned some other herbs that could be added to these things to make them more effective. But I want to restrict myself to vitamins alone. But take note that there are other things that could be added. There is B3 called niacin. That one enhances memory. You know, sometimes you get into the room, you want to pick something, you forget. Why did I enter? Yes, sir. But it means there is a problem. But when you have this vitamin B3 as a supplement, that is supplement to your food, then it will help to correct that problem. And finally, along that line, or second to the final, really, there is vitamin B5. Sometimes you are in a situation that you are highly stressed. You feel tired quite often. You want to eat food, the one you have eaten has not digested, meaning that the hydrochloric acid in your stomach is non-functional, or it's very less. So that, in that case, you will need vitamin B5, pantothenic acid. You will need it to help you reinvigorate your system. Yes. And then we have vitamin B6. Vitamin B6. You say? Okay, vitamin B6, pyridoxine for neurotransmitter. You know, you need to transmit something from the brain to other parts of the, and then, but if, for instance, there is a problem, it has been found that vitamin B12, which they call comobalin, can help those with impaired mental activity. That is it. Folic acid is not necessarily that, but let's leave that and go quickly to the vitamins. Two major or three major vitamins that is good for the heart. One, vitamin C. This vitamin has also been involved in the nutrition lecture we had from the two speakers, but they were talking about the food. But the food they're talking about, some of them have abundant vitamin C component. So if you take vitamin C, it will help to fight the cholesterol, the bad ones in the body, and will also help to some measure to deal with some cancer that will be roaming around your body. The same too applies to vitamin E. Vitamin E will make the blood to be thin. And quite often, those who take vitamin E hardly have this heart failure because the blood is thin. And
So can you
then, of
round
course,
up so that another person can come in? You can continue at the end. Thank you. Please. You can. Your time has been up. Your time has been up. So you can go back.
Okay, let me
round it.
Let me round up. Let me round up.
Yes.
Okay, let me round up. That is CoQ10. It is not usually called vitamin, but now they are calling it vitamin Q. It is good for the heart. It also fights cancer like these other two other ones I called for the heart, because cancer is very rampant nowadays and so forth. So let me end up by moving on to sunshine. Briefly, the sunshine helps us get vitamin D, but not going to burn your skin. You do that, you are causing problems. And that is also an opportunity for me to warn some of our kids and kings who are dark like me. They go and bleach their skin. They are inviting cancer to their body, skin cancer. God has created us well, and you don't need to start messing around with what God has done for you. So sunshine is good. It can help kill germs when it is germs that you have in your clothes and so forth. But you don't allow the sun to damage your body by staying very long. If you must stay long outside, please cover your head and so forth. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Prof. At the end, we have time to recap and to round up. Let us invite physiotherapist Onwumere Hilary to tell us about the benefits of physical activities. Physiotherapist Onwumere, please do a self-introduction and then go ahead. You have 13 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Good evening.
My name is Onwumere Hilary. I am do justice to the benefits of physical activity. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I would like to share my screen. I would like to share my screen, please.
Please go ahead and share your screen.
Is it visible now? Is it visible?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I'll introduce myself. I'm Onwumere Hilary. I'm a physiotherapist in Anambra State. So I'm going to be talking on the benefits of physical activity. Introduction, Prof here, the two first speakers, they have done justice to nutrition and food. Of course, these days, there is no how we can talk about healthy living without talking about good food. Like we rightly said, you are what you eat. And then this comes with the benefit of exercises, that's physical activity. Simply put, I'm not going to waste time with the dieting and the nutrition because justice has been done to it already. Let's come down to the problem everybody is having today, which is the SARS-CoV-2, the COVID-19. We all know it is responsible for the respiratory illness the COVID-19 patients are facing. I want to talk about this so that we understand the why. You know that physical exercises have their benefits. Now, we want to talk about the why so that we know how this virus interplays, so we know why you need physical activity in these COVID times, especially in the aged. It is a typical virus, which is normal RNA, bilipid, donor membrane, and outer membrane. Now, this virus attacks the respiratory tracts all the way from the trachea to the alveolus, and it is the level at which it attacks that the symptoms is being classified as either being mild, moderate, or severe. Now, before I go into physical activities and exercise proper, we know that cases of COVID patients, they come down with acute respiratory distress syndrome. And here, what majorly happens there is that their lung loses elasticity because of its high elastance. And even though they do these exercises and mobilize this oxygen, there is no positive pressure to push the oxygen away from the body. And so they suffocate. Now, physical activity. Physical activity is any bodily movement that will require energy and that will require expenditure of energy and muscle contractions. And when we say physical activity, we're talking about exercises. Now, exercise is proper. Exercise, physical activity that brings about the release of myokines and other inflammatory markers. Prof. Ono has said when he was speaking that the COVID is mainly an inflammatory condition, and he's right about it. So the need of exercise is so that you can release, so that exercise can bring about the release of these anti-inflammatory markers that can help subdue these conditions. Now, exercise rehabilitation, studies have shown that 27% of all mortality cases can be reduced. Even a study carried out by a prof in the Virginia School of Medicine says that all ARDS patients who develop COVID-19, 45% of these patients will die because of the inflammatory problems that comes with these diseases. Now, for the sake of this, the topic at hand, we are just going to concentrate on the types of exercises for this. It is mainly going to be aerobic, the endurance exercises, the weight training, and the combination of any of them. Now, before we go into the benefits of physical exercises proper, the benefits of physical activities proper, we would like us to understand the exercise physiology. Now, what really happens when COVID or when there is infection? Now, let's take the lung tissues, for example. When there is a viral infection, there is an influx of white blood cells to the lung tissues. This white blood cell there to attack the viral infections. Now, when these free radicals are released, they are the ones who go to engulf any infection that happens in the lungs or anything, any virus at all. Now, that is the normal process. But here, when the viral infection persists, as in the case of COVID, because of the continuous inflammation process, normally the body has the natural tendency to heal itself from any infection. If you go through the stages of inflammation, cell proliferation, and remodeling. But because of the continuous injury to the lung tissues, the process of inflammation that is supposed to last ordinarily for 5 days or more or weeks will now persist. So the tissue keeps getting injured, and inflammation persists. Now, when this happens, there will now be increased influx of white blood cells, which go to attach in the endothelial tissues of these blood vessels. Because of the increased influx of these white blood cells, free radicals are also increased. Now, when these free radicals are increased, they break down the cell membrane of the epithelial protein, and this will lead to leakages. Then the water from the cell will leak into the lung tissues, worsening the inflammation, and it keeps going on and going on and on. Now, this is where the importance of antioxidants, like Prof said, Oxygen, as much as it is important, is also a home for free radicals. Now, exercise produces antioxidants. The chief, which is extracellular superoxide dismutase. This is very important. This enzyme is very, very important, as you will see later. Now, exercise prescription. Before you give anybody exercise, especially the elderly. Now, the elderly, as the case may be here, they pose a high risk factor in this pandemic time because of their age ranges. They have risk factors ranging from age, their aerobic capacity is decreased, their mobility factors increase, and they also come down with sarcopenia because of their age differences. Now, in prescribing exercise generally, there are things you have to consider. There are things you have to determine in terms of whether to give the patient a low or medium or high intensity exercises. Now, the physiotherapist must determine the heart rate maximum, the resting heart rate, and the heart rate reserve, because there is a need to increase the VO2 mass of these patients. Now, VO2 mass is very, very important. That is why in this case of COVID, some people get it and cover, and they are one of the ventilators, while some don't. Now, one can live a sedentary lifestyle and expect to have an increased VO2 mass. So before you prescribe exercise to anybody, there are formulas for calculating the maximum heart rate, the resting heart rate, the heart rate potentials, but that is not what we're here to discuss today. Now, to develop an individual training program for anybody exercise, the physiotherapist will use the FIT principle. It's very, very important for steps. The exercise must have a frequency, there must be intensity, it must have duration, very important, and the type of exercise cannot be overemphasized. Now, some of the benefits of exercise in this COVID-19 period. Exercise, normally we have physiological benefits of exercise. We have the sympathetic benefits of exercise. But for this case, we are just going to take it, for the case of study, we are going to take it in this itemized plates. Now, it increases the vital capacity, VO2 mass, like I said earlier. Exercise encourages lung expansion. It increases the CD4 cells count. Now, these CD4 cells are responsible for immunity boosting. Then exercise, of course, like I said earlier, it enhances the production of extracellular superoxide dismutase, which is a very, very good antioxidant. Among other benefits of exercise, it decreases cortisol level, it enhances cardiorespiratory functions, it enhances motor functions, and also it enhances mood. Now, conclusively, in this COVID period, one has to build immunity, like we all said. Now, sedentary lifestyle should be discouraged at all levels. You can eat what you want to eat, but make sure exercises are not left out. The youngs can exercise, the aged can exercise, even the sick can exercise. Someone who has been physically active before contracting COVID-19 has higher chances of surviving the because the antioxidant has already been produced there and is in the cell. So when these infections come in, there is already extracellular superoxide dismutase to fight the adverse effect of these free radicals in this COVID-19 period. So conclusively, it is encouraged that we exercise. Now, for the aged, you do what you do doesn't matter these days only, but how you do what you do, because you can be doing the right thing the wrong way, and you can also be doing the wrong thing at the right thing at the wrong time. You understand? So if you get yourself a physiotherapist to give you prescribed exercises, especially in this COVID period, you can live an active lifestyle. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very, very much, physiotherapist Onwumere. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I will quickly recap what has been said. Then we can go on to question and answer. I start from the first one, the place of liquid food in boosting immunity. The speaker Dr. Ndubisi Onuaha, told us about degenerative diseases. Some of them, poverty in nutrients, causes all these degeneration in food. And the way we prepare food also kills the food. We are not supposed to heat our food, but because of taste, we heat the food and then we sacrifice the nutrients. He also told us that the body heals itself and drugs are just there to quieten the body. He talked about what is killing us today is our ability to make choices. Animals don't make choices, they eat what God has designed them to eat, and they get well. But people go and take all kinds of things. They take sugars and things that are not very good for them. And that is why we get sick. Nutrients are found highest in vegetables and herbs. He said, if possible, eat your food raw. You can juice it. Juicing gives healing and reversals in ailments. Sugars should be avoided because they cause inflammation. You should not juice your fruits, only vegetables, and most important, green leaves, but you can add the crunchy vegetables to them. He said, don't add water when you make your juice. And smoothie is not juicing. Then he says juices are used for weight loss. They should be taken on an empty stomach. You take 1 glass, every hour. Once an hour you take. If there's no disease to reverse, you can take 3 or 4 glasses of juice in a day. If you have cancer, you will need 10 to 12 glasses a day. He says that cooked food enhances inflammation. The body doesn't understand cooked food. And so, it tries to fight it. And that is why we have inflammation. Fibers are very good. They reduce the sugar and they help to sweep the intestine. You should not blend your fibers for long. Fibers if you want to increase your immunity, you add things like garlic, turmeric, and other things to your juice. Then Professor Henrietta Enelbonk told us the role of eating right, the role of healthy eating. She said that our food should be our medicine and our medicine our food. That is, eat your food as if it's medicine and eat the medicine. If you don't, you will find that medicine will later become your food. So unhealthy foods make us unhealthy. And foods contain more than nutrients. Healthy eating helps us in our weight control and also in immune system. We should always eat right. When you don't eat right, you find things like malnutrition and non-communicable diseases. Unhealthy eating affects from the fetus to the elderly. It comes at any time, especially for the vulnerable groups. We eat to satisfy our social and psychological needs. She talked about proteins, amino acids, non-essentials, which you get from plants, cereals, and legumes. Fatty acids, there are essential fats, that is the unsaturated fats. And then there are the bad ones, which are the saturated ones, like in palm oil, it's completely saturated. You have minerals and vitamins. These are very good because they are antioxidants, like vitamin A, C, E, zinc, folic acid, iron, copper, selenium. There are other substances that are not vitamins, like phytochemicals, because they reduce the rate of disease, e.g. cancer. And the things that have these phytochemicals are things like garlic, carrot, onions, grapes, etc. She talked about anti-nutritional and toxic factors that are in foods. You should ensure healthy diet. She showed us a food a food triangle, pyramid. I would like her to share that pyramid later to people's emails if we provide the emails, because that shows you what food you should eat much of. And she says in each group, there are different kinds of food. You don't have to eat only one type of food. You can mix the food. Today you eat one in that group, but you find that as you go up the pyramid, things like fat are at the very top of the pyramid. Those are things you should eat very, very little of. And there should be in our food. You should always have variety. You choose food from those groups. Then there's adequacy of food. You should have their proteins, iron, calcium. You should eat with moderation. There are things you eat in moderation, that is the fat, the sugar, the salt. And then overall, you try to balance your mono and polysaturates. Then Professor Alozie, his on is the role, place of water, vitamins, oxygen, and sunshine. First, the water. He said that we should drink at least 1.5 liters of water every day because it helps the body function. You know that 70% of our body is made of water. When you drink water, it helps to your excreta to be loose. It makes your urine free-flowing, not too dark, and it removes mouth and body odor. When you do the opposite, then you have thick excreta, thick urine, mouth and body odor. He says that first thing in the morning, he himself takes 750 mils of water. That is like this big Ragolis bottle, you take half of it. He takes it, although most people say drink 1 glass of water, but he takes that. So water is very good. Some people say they don't drink water. That is not good at all. Please drink water. There are people, oxygen is very good for the heart to pump the blood. Many people lock themselves in their rooms. They're just recycling the same air. Even though oxygen is good, but it also brings in the oxidants. And so you need antioxidants like onions, garlic, and etc. to reduce the oxygen. You should exercise because that enables one to take in oxygen. And breathing exercise is also good for the elderly. We talked about vitamins. He said not all these alpha, omega, and all whatnot. They're good, but they cannot replace nutritious meal and balanced diet. You know, try and have a balanced diet. But then you can also, you know, it's good to take vitamins like vitamin B3, he said, enhances memory. And this is what older people need. Older people need this vitamin B3 because, you know, you go to a room, you run into a room to take something. By the time you get there, you've forgotten why you went. So we need that. Then vitamin B5 in situations where you have stress and tiredness because you have so much hydrochloric acid in your stomach and the stomach is not functioning well. So you need to take B5 to reinvigorate your body. You also need vitamin B12. He spoke of vitamin Q, which he said is good for the heart and it fights cancer. Sunshine is good for us to go out in the sun because that gives us vitamin D3, vitamin D. But you should not go and burn yourself. And for people who bleach, it is really not good because bleaching removes the melanin that protects you from cancer of the skin. So don't invite cancer through bleaching. And if you do bleach, don't go into the sun. Then Professor physiotherapist Omumere Hillary talked to us about the benefits of physical activities. He said that especially in this period of COVID-19, you need to exercise, because if you don't exercise, during COVID, your lungs will lose their elasticity, and you need to continue exercising. 70% of the mortality rate, he said, can be reduced through exercises. COVID also comes with inflammation. So they encourage you to do aerobic and endurance exercises. He talked about viral infection through inflow of white blood cells to the lungs, and they release free radicals to fight the infection. And these free radicals, when they're increased, because the white blood vessels are there, they start fighting the body. So exercise produces antioxidants. Exercise prescription is prescribed for elderly people. But it is good for you to consult your physiotherapist first if you're an elderly person, because they will measure your heart and know exactly what kind of exercise is good for you, because not all exercises are good for us. Exercises, the benefits of exercises: increases vital capacity, increases the CD4 cell count, which improves immunity. And you must build immunity during this COVID period. Sedentary life, those of us who like to sit on the computer all day, please get up and move about, especially for the aged. How you do the exercise matters a lot. I think I have recapped everything. Now it is time for questions and answers. Please go ahead with your questions. Can you unmute people, please? Yes, Tinelo. Mrs. Uzelu, then. We can't hear you. Can you unmute her? Okay. Please, can you unmute Uzelu?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thank God I participated in this. I'm very grateful to all of you and our lecturers and professors. God bless you. Just a quick one. On the sunshine one, is it true that we have to be outside between 10 and 11 to get the vitamin D? Or is it any time of the day? For sunshine?
Physiotherapist Aloze, you can answer.
Okay, the
professor. No, sorry, not Aloze, Omumere.
Omumere, yes.
Yes.
I wasn't the one that talked about the sun.
Okay, Aloze can answer. Professor Aloze, can you take that question?
I think I wrote it down, though.
Professor Aloze, please.
Yes, I'm responding.
Okay.
I'm saying that 2 o'clock time is okay, 10, 11, but at the peak of the moment, it's not advisable. If you must do that, then be very brief and cover your eyes and so forth, so that you don't have sunburn. So you're correct, 10, 11 is okay.
So after 11, I won't get any benefits, sir?
Not much.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, can you take the hands that are raised? George, can you take the hands that are raised?
Don't have any hands raised at the moment.
And these vitamins, if there's no other hands, I'm sorry, because for my age, I take a lot of supplements. Can I ask questions? Another one?
Yes, ask.
Okay, like vitamin B, C, the zinc, all these things we are taking now. And is it too much if you take all of them at the same time? Even this current vitamin, like the zinc and the vitamin D3 in particular, against COVID because of our ages. Is it of any harm to take all of them together, or should I spread it?
Do I respond?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. You see, the pharmaceutical industry, they have some products. I don't want to do like I'm advertising for them.
Yes,
that
sir.
contains almost all of these. But when you read what they write, some micrograms, some I units, you not necessarily adequate. What I personally do, depending on the condition I'm in, I will buy B1, B2, B3. Take them with food because they are supplements. Take them with food.
Take them with.
Then let the
There
speakers
is question,
reply.
please. Sorry.
You have questions? Okay.
Please. I want to ask, I know some sources of vitamin.
Please, who is your question being directed to?
The vitamin D. What Prof to tell us some sources of vitamin D, and then the vitamin Q he talked about. Professor Alozie.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Professor Alozie, can you please tell us some sources of vitamin E and Q?
Okay, vitamin E and Q. When you take two
Can you
of them
hear me,
together,
sir?
Yeah, we can hear you.
yes. So vitamin E and Q.
Did you hear my question, sir?
We heard your question.
Yes. So vitamin vitamin E, remember, is an oil soluble vitamin. Not exceed.
My question is the sources.
No, just a moment. It is very important to fight cancer. Combine it with one we now call vitamin Q. But let me say something, few things about vitamin E. There is synthetic vitamin E, and there is the one they produce from oil. That vitamin E, look at the label. If it has a D, tocopherol, that is the natural one. But if it has a DL, it is a cheaper one. That means it is a synthetic vitamin E. As much as possible, try to get the natural one. That is my advice about that. It's very good. Against heart failure, and in addition to fighting, it also helps the reproductive organ. That's vitamin E. It's a very important vitamin, together with vitamin C. Very okay as an elderly person. Have I answered your question? Hello? Hello?
Yes, you have answered the question, sir.
Okay.
There is a question here from Aisha. My question is for the first presenter and the second. It says,
very well, but it's okay.
what type of food or foods can be taken to enhance calcium deficiency? And is taking supplements good? This question is directed to the first and the second speaker. Dr. Onoha, can you respond to this, sir?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Calcium deficiency in nature is actually difficult to get, but in clinical practice, we see some people with that, because in most of the food that we take, they have good sources of calcium. But the problem is that what happens to calcium is dependent on the pH of your blood. If your blood is acidic, you tend to lose calcium because calcium is even taken from the bones to buff them, alkalinize your system by taking a lot of fruits, and also the pH of the water you take. Some water, they are acidic, but it's good to take water that is alkaline. And then if you take a lot of cooked food are basically acidic. If you also take animal protein also acidifies your food. So the more animal protein or cooked food that you eat, the more acidic your blood will get. Also, the less water you drink, the more acidic your blood will get. And so it's about the pH that determines calcium deficiency. You know that milk contains calcium, and you believe that, okay, once you take a lot of milk, you should have a lot of calcium in your system. But studies that were done in the US some time ago shows that most people who take milk are deficient in calcium. And the reason being that milk ultimately acidifies your blood. And if it is acidic, the direction of the flow of calcium is not towards the bone, it will be towards the urine. Eventually, you'll be urinating them out and you'll be deficient in calcium. It's also important to remember one of the vitamins that you should combine with your vitamin D3. The vitamin D brings in calcium, but it doesn't know what to do with it afterwards. So you have a lot of calcium, and you can even have deposition of calcium in soft tissues, and also enhancement of thickening of the blood vessels. But if you have vitamin K2, you know, we have K1, K2, K3. Vitamin K2 does the work of mobilizing calcium from blood into the bones and teeth and removing excess calcium from your blood. It also mobilizes calcium that were deposited in soft tissues out of those areas into the, so because of that, vitamin K pressure and for cardiovascular health. Thank you.
Doctor, thank you so much for that. Response. There's another question here. It said, please, if someone has high blood pressure or diabetes, can they be reversed through juicing of fruits and vegetables? If so, which one?
Okay. Okay, the answer is basically, especially for diabetes, it is yes. And for the ones, juice will help you to reduce cooked food, because diabetes basically is just from your cooked food, excess cooked food. The major thing you get from cooked food, they are just sugar. Because you see, diabetic patients, many of them are no longer taking sugar, and they have reduced their carbohydrate intakes, but they still need to control their blood sugar with drugs. So where is the sugar coming from? The only major thing that they do is they eat cooked food. So it's from diabetes by introducing juice to them, and then smoothie of vegetables, and reducing the cooked food to just once a day. If they can do this, sugar will go, I mean, the diabetes will go away. In fact, one of them was in December, and right now it's already reversed. It's not on any medication for diabetes, and its sugar, it does not get to 96. Okay, for hypertension, I think the basis of hypertension comes from the bad cholesterol. And this bad cholesterol also comes from animal proteins. The animal protein that we eat. So if we reduce that, our cooked food to just once a meal, you will restrict that, and then you will get benefits from but the time for your dinner should be between 4 and 6 p.m. And like I saw one of us eating during this webinar, and I said, wow, that's good, because most of us now, we're going to start eating after the webinar, which is beyond the time for the eating actually. So whatever you are doing, make sure that you eat your dinner before 6, because there's a time for the body to clean up and rest. If you put any food in the system, the body begins to work again. Okay, so if you want to reverse hypertension, you need to do garlic, beetroot, cayenne pepper, and then you can add omega-3 supplements, omega-3 L-lysine, which is an amino acid, then vitamins like vitamin C, vitamin E. Then you add that with exercise and adequate sleep. Over time, this will help you. And this juicing and smoothie that you need to be taking is not something you'll be doing once in a while. If you want to get the benefit, it has to be a daily thing. And you can continue at it for by the second, third month, you begin to see significant improvement in your health. Even before then, maybe by 1 month. So if you do it daily, you'll begin to notice a lot of beneficial development with your health and beyond. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. There's a question here from Architect Victoria. What is your take on keto diet, especially for older persons?
Okay, thank you. Keto diet, I see keto diet as something you can engage for a while. Like if you have a major issue, maybe you want to quickly drop your weight, or you're having a chronic illness that you want to reverse, is a fast way to initiate the reversal. But it's not healthy to continue doing that, because it stipulates that you have to reduce sugar or carbohydrate to less than 5% of your daily intake. And that is difficult to achieve. Remember that the major fuel that the brain likes to use is sugar. Even though nothing is essentially bad, is the proportion and the way we engage in them that makes them bad. So sugar is inflammatory, but that is the primary fuel of our brain. So you can engage in it for a short period, and then you can stop again. But if you continue, eventually your cholesterol can get high. You can eventually if you don't like sugar. Okay, so let me just stop it here. There. I hope it's useful, the answer I've given on it. Hello?
Thank you, Doctor, for that response. This is a question for the Prof. Prof, is food fasting healthy for older adults? There's another question for Prof. Auntie Josephine is asking that she didn't get what you said on vitamin C and heart. Okay. The last question for Prof. What time of the day is good for taking? Okay, you've already responded to that question. So those are the two questions for Prof now.
Hello, sir. I didn't get the question.
The first question was from Chika. Is food fasting good for older persons? The first question was from Chika.
Is it for me?
Are you there, Prof? The question is fruit fasting healthy for older persons? It's frozen.
Fruit.
Fruit fasting, is it healthy for older persons?
Eating fruit alone.
For the elderly, for the fasting, if you fasting can bring some system. So it advises to fast and it depends again on the kind of processed original about, I think I heard something about vitamin E, but I don't know what. I'm quite sure what. Hello? Hello?
Yes, Prof, we can hear you.
Yes, talk about vitamin E. I didn't get the.
Okay, the question was, someone was asking that she didn't get what you said about vitamin D and the heart. What you said about vitamin D and the heart. Hello?
Hello?
Okay, let's go to the next question, please. Professor Prince Will, what time of the day is good for taking sunshine? I already answered this.
Yes, answered
Can
that.
repeat? Since most of the questions have already been stated and have been repeated, can we hand over to the moderator now, please?
No, but hello. You
Thank
still
you very
didn't
much.
answer my question. Please, I have 1-2 questions that I have not heard anything about. Can I ask again?
Okay, ask quickly.
Okay. Like I wanted a clarification. The doctor said he talked about vitamin D3 and K2. So what I'm asking is, now can the two vitamins be taken together if one wants to enhance the calcium in the body also? And then secondly, now I've observed that many women have this problem of uric acid and calcium and what have you. So for uric acid, what type of food is recommended if you really want to reduce the level of your uric acid before you go to the hospital and then you have uric acid? So what and what are they? And then also I want to ask the nutritionist, what kind of vegetable or food or something like that one to maintain a certain level so that it does not go above the recommended maintenance level. Thank you. That's all.
Okay, thank you very much. For vitamin D and vitamin K, if the vitamin K level that you are taking, if the dose that you are taking is 5,000 and above, then you have to add if the vitamin D that you're taking is 5,000 IU and above, then you have to add vitamin K2. You know, they use vitamin D. They can use vitamin D to kill rats. You give high dose vitamin D to rats, then they die of what is called hypercalcinosis, because their body absorbs too much calcium into the blood, and the position of calcium here and there blocks smooth blood flow, and eventually they die. And you know, you can extrapolate what happens to rats to human beings too, if you take similar amounts. Now, if you take a high dose of vitamin D, the problem is that you have a lot of calcium in the blood, and over time it can be a problem. So that is why it's recommended to add vitamin K2 to your vitamin D if the dose of the vitamin D you are taking is up to 5,000 in a day. So there is a company that has made vitamin D with K2. I don't know, we are all from different parts of Nigeria, but it's in Abuja. If you get to this HMed is in Abuja, you can get it. It's in a white and orange colored bottle. But if you don't have that, you can get vitamin D3 alone and then get vitamin K2 alone. Before now, it used to be difficult to get vitamin K2 in Nigeria. Even in the US, it was restricted. We had to order it from Amazon. But I now see it in Nigeria. So depending on what part of Nigeria you live, you may get it in one of the big pharmacies. If not, you may get somebody who lives abroad to send it down to you. I think it's a very important vitamin. You know, vitamin K generally is for blood clotting, but this K2 doesn't do that of blood clotting. It's specifically for calcium metabolism and for cardiovascular health. So you can take them together, right? Then I think the other question is for the nutritionist. Okay. Hello. Yes.
We're actually.
I think after the vitamin D,
Yes.
after the vitamin D and K2, her next question, she said, for the nutritionist.
Yes. And maybe you can chip in again, doctor. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, for uric acid, I think foods that are rich in purine, they tend to give uric acid, and also maybe animal protein. So if you reduce that and do more of plant-based food, and then take a lot of water, you will reduce the issue of uric acid formation. Because when you take a lot of water, then you will pass much of it out of your urine, and there will be less to accumulate in the blood system. So the problem of uric acid becomes compounded with dehydration. And also if you're also taking water that is acidic. So if you take water that is more alkaline, things dissolve better in alkaline solution than in acidic solution. Like in the treatment of cancer, even when they use chemotherapy, those who take alkaline solution, alkaline water, tend to have better results than those who don't. Most juice are alkaline. Even the acidic fruits, by the time you take them, they tend to leave an alkaline effect in your body. So it's very important. Sorry, I'm getting some distracting call. Okay, so it's very important that you do a lot of juicing. Juice will help you to reduce the amount of uric acid in your system. Okay, thank you. I hope it's helpful what I said. Aisha.
At this stage, I want to thank all the presenters for a marvelous job, and I will ask the host, Dr. Eza Joku, Senator Dr. Eza Joku, to give us a vote of thanks. Thank you.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this has been very, very exciting, and I'm excited. And we enjoyed very good participation of almost 64 people from across the nation, and this is very good. We should do this more. I just believe that we may have taken too many speakers at the same time, and then not allocated enough time to each of you. We want to apologize to you, our speakers, that you did not have enough time to share your slides or talk in detail of what you wanted to share with us. But we want to tell you that we sincerely appreciate everything you said. And I'm sure that many of us have gained a lot of insight to the topics you have covered. So thank you very much to each of our speakers. I want to also thank all our participants that the fact that we have been here for 2 hours, almost exactly about 2 hours, shows, our interest in the topic. I want to thank you for staying till this moment, and we sincerely appreciate you. Tomorrow, every Saturday, Graceful Ageing Fellowship in Abuja from 7:30 to 9 o'clock will always do exercises. And on the last Saturday of every month, they have what they call a breakfast prayer meeting, during which they have teachings. Dr. Noah will still be speaking tomorrow on diet and all that. So if you're in Abuja, we want to invite you to number 10, Lingo Crescent. Number 10, Lingo Crescent, Wuse 2, off Aminu Kano. The number 10 is, the Lingo Crescent is beside a petrol station called Hyde Petrol Station that used to be called Ilobe or NNPC on Aminu Kano. Number 10, you are invited. We're doing it in the open. There'll be social distancing. So come and listen more, and then have the privilege of 10 to 15 minutes of exercise. Otherwise, on behalf of Cosropin and on behalf of Graceful Aging, I want to thank all of you for participating and wish you a wonderful evening. Thank you all. Moderator, thank you for a job well done. When you were repeating the things that were said, I was wondering how you were able, in the very short time, to be able to extract that much. Thank you for a job well done. And I'm sure that we all enjoyed this evening session. Thank you all.
Thank you. So on that note, we say good night, everybody. Thank you. And see you tomorrow at GRAF. Tomorrow morning, 7 a.m.
Thank you all. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you, moderator. It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Though I joined late, but I got a lot.
I had my hand up, but I wasn't called.
Thank you. Thank you.
I did. I had my hand up and I wasn't called. So
Thank
you very much, everybody.
Thank you. I'm participating from Rome.
Okay, let me just speak, please. And it has to do with exercise. The physiotherapy said a lot about this exercise, which every day we learn anew. Now, in most of the exercising arenas, when a new person comes in, he just follows from where those former ones have gotten to. And I had wanted to ask the physiotherapist if that is good or not. And if not, do they bother to give out flyers to these groups that do exercises to say when you have a new person, you have to start that person to build up before arriving at that stage to join the rest. And that person will go to GRAF. Distinguished Senator, sir, I attended this thing a few times, and straight off I joined where the people were. And by the time I went home, my ribs were cracking. So do you do that too now, that when you have new people, you build them up before they can catch up with the rest of the group?
Distinguished Senator.
If any part of your body is hot.
Wait.
Can you hear me? Was I muted?
We can't hear you, Senator.
Who's speaking?
Yes,
Am I
we
the
can hear.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear now. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. What usually happens in large groups is that when you come into a large group, one, you are just coming to exercise for the first time. Like in GRAF, rule number 1 is that you should do only what you can do if you are new, because people have built stamina over the months. And rule number 2 is if you cannot do anything, don't even try it. And rule number 3 is that if you have any part of your body paining, you stop and just watch the rest of us. It's difficult for them to single you out and start you on another routine. You just pick up the little you can do, but having, of course, been advised as to your capacity to do the exercise. We find it difficult to take a new person and then start the person alone, but because people would have built stamina over months and days, so we just ask you to do the little. But let me tell you, you do an exercise for the first time after a very long time. When you go home that night, you will definitely have some aches and pains. If you continue to do those exercises over and over, you will not feel them again. Because, you know, it's like a door that is suddenly opened. The first day you swing that door open, you will hear noise. Your joints begin to make noise. And the whole essence of exercising sometimes is to lubricate all the natural joints God has put in our bodies. And you begin to stretch them gradually to become smooth. So if you are coming tomorrow, please, when you come, let us talk in detail. Thank you.
Thank you.
The person that is in America.
Hello.
Can I request for the contact phone numbers for our lecturers as well, Dr. Honor, for me, please? Because I have excruciating knee pain, arthritis. Thank you.
Are you in Abuja? Are you coming for GRAF tomorrow?
I'm in Abuja, but I can't exercise because of my knees.
Hey, just come. He will be talking. He will be talking on diet also. And so we can.
What time?
7 to 10. And
okay.
Number 10, Lingo Christian.
Number 10, Lingo Christian.
Yes, off.
Okay.
Off
okay, so if I come by 9, is it late?
You are not too late.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, big sis. Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. I appreciate. God bless you all and reward you all in Jesus' name. Bye.
Doctor, can we have your number, please, in case we want to ask some other advices or something like that? We that are
tomorrow.
We cannot reach you.
Are you in Abuja? Are you in Abuja?
Yes, sir. I'm in Maiduguri, sir.
You are in Maiduguri.
Yes, sir.
Is that Aisha? Aisha? I will come and do exercise for you in Maiduguri.
No, Markedu.
Thank you, Professor Losby, for inviting me.
Hello, Mama. And to Professor Akozie, you see him like that, he looks like
have your number. We are not in Abuja, but we want to know have your number.
Yeah.
You're welcome. I can see talking from the big country.
I can see the vice president is still there. Aliyu Abdullahi. Are you back to Abuja?
I am back. Oh.
Hello.
All right. Thank you all.
Okay, bye.
Did I tell you you are looking lovely?
Good night, and thank you very much.
Welcome back.
Bye.
Yeah. This program continues tomorrow with social distancing.
Okay. Congrats, Monaco. Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you very much.